Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. You need to prepare for an EMP, and if you're not, you need to get preparing as fast and as completely as you can. I'll tell you why. I got up this morning and started checking all my feeds and everything and doing what I do in the morning, and I saw that Zombie Farmer had downloaded put up a video, uploaded a video on this very thing, and it was about a report concerning the threat of Iranian EMP attacks on us. That is a real thing. I'm going to take this. I'm going to tell you about how to prepare for an EMP. A lot of people talk about this, I know, and it's good. People are interested in it. It is among the top two, at least, existential threats that we have. It is it is very possible. A CME is assured, if you know the difference between an EMP and a CME, a coronal mass ejection. That is assured. Scientists tell us that is going to happen. Anybody who is not preparing for EMP is really not preparing in a big enough game. I'll just put it that way. Now I'll kind of come back in a minute and explain to you how to do this. But I want to talk about zombies for a minute. He put a link, I believe, on his. I'm not going to put the link. I'm not going to bother to put the link down here. But he said he was going to put a link to the report, the EMP report on the Iranian threat on his channel. The reason that I say that is because if you're not already subscribed to Zombie Farmer, you should be. Zombie stepped up, like I've said to so many of you, when I had my little issue with YouTube a couple of days ago, he stepped up and told everybody on his main channel, just said right out there where to find me, that they should come over to Integrative Preparedness. And I tell you what, he was a stand-up guy. He walks the walk. And if you're not with him, I would highly suggest that you go to his channel and sign up. It is Zombie Farmer. He also has a Patreon channel. Support him. It's only $1. Speaking of which, I'm about to put one up here on our Patreon channel later that will be of great interest to most of you. So since he talked about that, it just made me want to jump off on it and talk a little bit more about it. For those of you who don't know, I wrote the Stonemont series, the 5 books of the Stonemont series. Here they are. Somebody will come on and say and jab me for hawking my books. I don't care. I'm a writer. Okay, that's the only reason that I started this channel to begin with, is to talk about my books, and then I started talking about general preparedness. But I wrote the Stonemont series, the reversion, the revival, the renewal, an appeal to heaven, and the blessings of freedom. What are these about? These are about the collapse of the world after a coronal mass ejection. Okay, the same thing. It's pretty close to an EMP. In here, I explain exactly how to prepare for it, how to survive it, how to rebuild afterwards, both on a local, a regional, and then a national level. Now, I don't get into a lot of the science behind this. Don't worry, I'm going to get to it in a minute, how to do it. But I'm going to tell you what I don't do first. I don't get into a lot of the science. I am not a scientist. I am not an electrical engineer. To be honest with you, a lot of that is flat over my head. Hondo Bob, one of our members on Patreon, has put up some amazing things on the community section. If you're with us on Patreon, you can access it on the community section. He's put a lot of stuff up there for those who want to really get down into the science of EMP. Okay, he knows his stuff. Others over there know their stuff too. I've got some exceptional people over on the Patreon channel. If you're not with me on the Patreon channel, I invite you to come over. We have stuff over there that you really want to know, need to know. We go so much farther over there than we do on YouTube. And I'll probably put this also on American Reversion and also on the American Reversion Patreon site too. I want as many people as possible to hear this, what I'm talking about. The possibility of an EMP, a strike from someone like Iran, combined with a cyber attack, which it doesn't matter whether it's an EMP or shutting down from a cyber attack, it's all shutting down the grid. Okay, the results can be pretty much the same. It's, in my opinion, a very real probability. And what I've always told people, if you are prepared for an EMP, you're prepared for pretty much everything. But how do you get prepared for an EMP? You have to realize what it is. It doesn't take us back to the Stone Age. It takes us back to about the 1840s, in that we've lost all the technology, but we have not lost all of the knowledge. So the rebuilding of things, which I cover a lot in these books. You can see there's 5 books, right? I explain the rebuilding afterwards. Now, it's not like we get things back the next day. It's a matter of redoing manufacturing. It's very, very, very detailed. It takes a long time, but it in my opinion, can be done. Your quality of life will change. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to get worse. Now, they estimate, the EMP Commission estimated in their report back in 2000, whatever, was it 2 or 3, I don't know, that 90% of the people in the affected area would die off within the first 12 months, okay? From starvation, disease, violence that accompanies the collapse of society, bad water, injuries, all sorts of things, okay? I'm not going to argue with that. In some areas, it'd probably be higher than that. In some places, probably lower. But the difference in the people who will survive and the ones who won't survive is a matter of preparedness. Sometimes luck a little bit, but 90% preparedness is one of those. The more prepared you are, the luckier you tend to be, right? What is it going to take? Do you stock a lot of food? Do you grow food? Do you know how to grow food? If you don't know how to grow food, even if you're in the suburbs, which, as you can hear, I live in the suburbs, you had better be learning. The gardening is it's got quite a steep learning curve. Don't be dissuaded by those who say it's too late. We don't know if and when something like this could happen. It could happen before the end of this video, right? But it could not happen for another several years. So don't let those people that say, if you haven't started by now, it's too late. Don't ever think it's too late. Just get started. The old saying, the best time to plant an apple tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now, right? Same thing with preparing. Get busy. You need to have food stored as much as you can. If you don't know how to do that, one of my very first videos was about, I think I called it the next step. Go up here somewhere, and you'll see where you can find the oldest videos first. Go to that one. It's all about stocking food. It's not about buying Mountain House and all these so-called survival foods. You don't have to do that. You can do it fairly inexpensively. Not as inexpensively now as when I did it or others started doing it, because inflation is starting to catch up. But inflation is going to keep going for a while. Everything you buy now is going to be cheaper than what you buy a month from now. So if you're going to get started, get started. The only thing that stored food does, realize this, is to keep you from starving until you're able to produce your own food. In the case of an EMP or a CME, I've heard people who don't know what they're talking about say, it'd take at least 6 months to come back from it. That's a bunch of hooey. It'd take 10 years, 20 years to come back from this. It's a matter of shutting down the huge transformers that supply the 3 grid systems in our country, Eastern, Western, and the sounds of suburban teenagers. I know it sounds the same in the country, but the eastern grid, the western grid, and the Texas grid. Okay, they are served by these huge transformers. We don't keep these things in stock. There's not a bunch of spares laying around. Even right now, if one goes out, it takes up to a year to replace it. That's with the grid working. If the grid is down, there is no getting those things in place to replace anything, because the grid goes down, all of them go down, at least all of them within that affected grid system, whether it's east, west, or Texas. If it's a CME, they all go. If it's an EMP that just takes one or two of them down, we'll realize the cascading effect that would have on the others. Okay, still one or 2/3 of or most of the country would be down. Now you'd have these people starving and killing each other and all that. It's among the most horrendous outcomes you can imagine if you're not prepared. I tell people, think about watching your children starve to death and you having no food, right? If you think that an atomic attack would be worse, ask yourself whether you would prefer to go like that, or whether you would start starving to death, be chased by gangs, be captured and turned into either a slave or cannibalized by people who are going to eat you and your kids, because there's not enough food around. That is a real question. That's not meant to be a shock value, but I know that a lot of people don't think that far down the road. That is what could happen after an EMP or a CME. So you need to develop the ability to grow food. How much food? As much as you can, because it's not just you'll be feeding. You may be wanting to feed other people around you as you build a group. How much food do you need to store? How much can you store? There's no telling how much you need to store. You start storing until it happens, basically. Okay, I started preparing years ago, and I haven't stopped. And I've studied this stuff. The reason that I haven't stopped is because I've studied this stuff so much, and I've thought about it so much, and I want you all to think about it, to be prepared, to be ready for this kind of thing. It's going to be horrible for people who aren't. Okay, you need you need to store as much water as you can in the location where you are, but understand that it's impossible to store enough water to last you long term. You need to be a water source. You need to be near a water source. That means the ability to sanitize, to sterilize water, to you know what I mean. There's all different ways. We use a Berkey filter. If you can't afford a Berkey filter right now, it costs several $100s. At least have some Sawyer minis. Know how to purify water by boiling and other methods. Have the ability to defend yourself. If you are not up to speed, I know a lot of people that when they start preparing, the first thing they did is a whole bunch of guns, right? A whole bunch of guns and ammo. And they forgot about the food. There are other people who just went after food, forgot about the guns. You need to be able to protect what's yours, which means your life, the lives of those who depend on you, and your supplies. Okay, and then you need a shelter that is defendable. You need the ability to be mobile. That's a whole different thing in the area of grid down, because many, if not most, of the vehicles might not work. Okay, there's a dispute about that among those who know more about this than I do, but I cover all this, how to deal with that, in the very first book. In the very first book, which I should have mentioned to you, these are all available on Amazon. Just go to Stephen C. Smith Stonemont series, and all of my books are available there. You can get them in paperback or in Kindle. They are novels, but are meant to essentially be a step-by-step plan of how a prepared family was able to survive, helped other people, built community, and rebuilt a functioning society. If you live in the city or the suburbs, you need to have a place that you've already set up or thought about or made arrangements for to get out to. You need to get out of the populated areas, because when everybody else's food runs out, they're going to come to you for food. It's going to give you a choice. You can either tell them no, or you can start giving away your stuff, which might mean the starvation of your own family. That's your choice to make. But if you, I know what choice I'll make, but that's up to you what choice you make. If you say no, or if you say yes, just the neighbor across the street, I just want a can of beans. Okay, well, he's going to need another can of beans tomorrow, right? And then he told somebody where he got a can of beans. Now they want a can of beans. Pretty much, you have to be able to provide for everybody you know and everybody they know. Okay, do you have that much? I don't know anybody who does except the government. And you know what? They're going to be non-functional. There will be part of the government that is functional, the old continuity of government, but they're going to be holed up. They're going to be in their bunkers. This idea of FEMA camps and stuff, there's not going to be any FEMA camps. There's not going to be any soup lines. The people who would run those things are expendable. And besides that, they're not all that well organized. Ask me how I know. So if you say no, they can't have any food, what are you going to do when they come attack you? You're going to have to kill them. Okay? You think you're going to be able to argue a person with a starving child out of it? The way I suggest dealing with that is make sure as soon as you know what's happening, you scoot the boot. You get your supplies and you get out to a location that you've already decided on, outside of the built-up areas, to where you can settle down, protect yourself, stay alive during the die-off, and then try to rebuild. There's a lot more that goes into that. I cover that all in the books. What does that mean? That means if you have all of your stuff in your house, how do you move all of that? Okay, you need to have plans for that. I won't get into that right now. You need to have plans for having food at your destination or getting food to your destination. I think I'll hold off and do a separate one on that. Going to do one on that on Patreon. Okay, do that on Patreon, because that just gets too far into the weeds. I'll probably do a number of these things on Patreon that just would take forever to answer here. And I think I'll stop there. I just want to say this is a very real threat. It's a threat that people kind of like to talk about and dance around about, and it's kind of like the boogeyman that people like to be scared of but then don't think about. And that's the problem. It is a threat. It could be an imminent threat. We don't know. But when it happens, it has happened. There's no more time to get ready. It's something you need to think about, to plan for now, to prepare for now. And I hope that you do, Go check Zombie's video. Sign up with him if you're not. He's a great channel. Support him. If you want more information on the science of it, come over to our Patreon channel and to the community section. Hondo Bob, who was in the military for years and years and years. He's got a lot of great stuff over there that you can read if you really want to get into the science. If you really want to learn how to prepare, survive it, rebuild from it, my books are available on Amazon. You can also get autographed copies. There's a way to do that. The links are all right down here in the information section. There's a link to the Patreon page, a link to how you can get my books on Amazon, and a link how to get them from me autographed. You'll get them faster from Amazon, if that matters to you. I don't get them out as fast as Amazon because that's their business, getting things fast. And I have to, when I get orders, then I sign them, and I have to, I go up to the mail, to the post office, and I stick them in the mail, and then they mail them to you. It takes a while, and then I run out, and I've got to order more. Okay, that's just the way that it is. So anyway, you all, if this isn't on your radar, it needs to be on your radar. This is the number one thing probably that needs to be on your radar, because things are getting dicier. We have a weak leadership. What does weakness invite? weakness invites attack. And boy, we're inviting it. Okay? You all, I hope that you're gearing up for this. I hope you're thinking about it. There's no reason to be afraid if you're prepared. You know, it's like my kids said on their video, don't be scared, be prepared. That's exactly right. Prepare, 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 prepare. And then wish for the best, right? Keep living your life, but prepare. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And the well is the operative word there. You're going to live tomorrow however you've prepared for today. And over on American Reversion, what we always say is America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it. So while we're preparing, we're still working to make the world that we're living in now better, right? So I hope you're all on it. You all have a good day. Remember, hit zombie. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.